Thanks. So I'm a data scientist. I'm a total nerd, a total geek. Thank you. You can kind of see I'm not a Tony Robbins type or an Oprah type. But over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to try to offer you all some self-help to make you feel better about your lives, to make you a little happier. Does that sound good? All right, so there's a big problem in modern society, which is that we're all using social media more and more, and it's making us miserable. Literally, there are studies on this. Scholars at Yale and University of California, they found that the more people use Facebook, the less happy they become. And there's a reason for this, I think, which is envy, jealousy. We see everybody else's life on social media, and it seems so great, and we think our lives stink. And there's a reason for that, I'd argue, which is that people are lying on social media. And that's where I come in as a data scientist. I've been comparing what people really do and what they're saying they're doing on social media. And I found that frequently it doesn't correspond at all. So let me give you one example. Let's talk about the magazines people read or claim to be reading. So let's compare two magazines. We got the Atlantic Monthly, serious, highbrow, intellectual magazine, talks about philosophy and political theory, has poems, and the National Enquirer, a celebrity gossip magazine. We actually know how popular these two magazines really are. We have data on how many copies are purchased. The National Enquirer is 3 times more popular than the Atlantic Monthly. So 3 times more Americans are buying the National Enquirer than the Atlantic Monthly. Now, what happens on social media when people are saying what they like on Facebook, what magazines they like or are talking about? Well, here, of course, the Atlantic Monthly is more popular than the National Enquirer, people say. In fact, the Atlantic Monthly is 45 times more popular than the National Enquirer. So I guess everybody wants their friends to think they're so intellectual. How do people spend their days? What activities are they doing day in, day out? Let's compare two things, doing the dishes, not such a fun activity, and golfing. How frequently are people doing both of these? We know time use surveys tell us that Americans are 6 times more likely at any given moment to be doing the dishes than to be golfing. On social media, different story, far more likely to be golfing than doing the dishes, right? Everybody wants their friends to think they're so much fun. And how about this one, where people spend their vacations? 2 Las Vegas hotels. We got the Bellagio, luxurious 5-star fancy hotel. Circus, cheap budget hotel. In reality, we know that they're about equally likely to be visited. The same number of people stay at them every year. On social media, people are far more likely to say they're staying at the Bellagio, checking in on Facebook. They want their friends to think they're so rich. And my favorite example, data scientists and investigative journalists, they did a study. They found out that there is occasionally some deception about where people live, where people reside. They found, crunching the numbers, that a large number of people are not admitting on Facebook that they live in New Jersey. So, So, of course, now we know why Facebook and social media makes us miserable. If you're doing the dishes and while everyone else seems to be golfing, or you're staying in a motel and everyone else is a luxurious hotel, you're going to feel lousy about your life. And then you could also live in New Jersey. I'm actually from New Jersey, so I'm coming out of the closet tonight as someone from this horrific state. This problem actually isn't entirely new, although it's gotten worse in social media. Friends have always been exaggerating who they are to us, and we've always sometimes felt envious of how their life seemed to be going compared to ours. There's a line, it's beautiful, I think a beautiful line, I'm not sure how many people have heard it, it's popular among people in Alcoholics Anonymous. Don't compare your insides with other people's outsides. And the idea is that you may feel struggle or pain on the inside, and everyone else may seem like they have it all together. They probably are feeling the same things you are. But the problem with this advice is it's really hard to follow because we don't see other people's insides. We only see their outsides. But now we have, maybe for the first time in human history, a real window into people's insides, thanks to big data and the internet. And that is people's Google searches. And people are remarkably honest on Google. They tell things to Google that they might not tell to anybody else. It serves as kind of a digital truth serum. And I've been analyzing this data for the past 5 years, all anonymous and aggregate. I don't know anything about anybody in this room. I just know that all of you are a total mess based on the data. But we really get a totally different window into people, a really unprecedented window, and certainly very different from the cultivated image on social media. So let me go through some of the findings. Secret insecurity about one's body. People don't usually talk about this. Here's a question. What body part do men Google the most questions? And the gigglers are probably guessing something a little raunchy, I'd imagine. And they would be totally right. The number one question, that body part that men Google, is indeed their genitals, which maybe isn't so shocking, but the degree of it is unbelievable. So men ask more questions how to make their penis bigger than how to make an omelet, tune a guitar, or change a tire. Men ask more questions about their penis than their lungs, liver, ears, nose, and throat combined. For every one question men ask about their brain, they ask 25 about their penis. And my favorite fact in all of Google search data, one of the top questions men ask Google about their penis is, how big is my penis? How the hell, how is Google supposed to answer that question, right? You gotta find it out in other ways. All right, secret basic confusion, questions people have. Have you ever sat in a room and thought your questions are really stupid and superficial and everybody else had such profound questions? I can disabuse you of that notion from the things people search on Google. My favorite example, I studied this State of the Union address a few years ago. You see Obama's talking, we got Joe Biden in the background, John Boehner in the background. And if you asked on social media or people were talking out loud, what are their big questions about this particular event? It would be, what is Obama's Social Security policy? What's his Medicare? What's he going to do about North Korea? These were the top Googled questions during this speech. How old is Obama? Who is sitting next to Biden? Why is Boehner wearing a green tie? And why is Boehner orange? All right, so we've established two things. We have that there's one source, social media, where people are lying through their teeth, they're showing off to their friends, they're not telling the truth. We have one source, Google, where they're being honest. So what's really interesting is if we compare these two different sources on maybe the same topic. So I did this, I wanted to see on Facebook and Google, how do people describe their husbands? And let's start with social media posts. The top way people complete the phrase, my husband is. Number one, my husband is on social media. My husband is the best. Followed by my best friend, amazing, the greatest, and so cute. So that's marriage according to social media. And then what happens when people are by themselves? Do we get the same view of marriage? And we don't, actually the third, this is the most surprising thing. the third most popular way people describe their husband, my husband is on Google, is my husband is amazing, which is the same as Facebook. And it's like, why are you telling Google that, right? Although a woman recently suggested that maybe men are searching that to see what shows up, thinking that's what their wives are searching. But rounding out the top 5 on Google, my husband is gay, a jerk, annoying, and mean. So that brings me to my self-help. My new self-help mantra for the 21st century, based on big data, based on data scientists, based on the internet. Something to keep in mind whenever you're feeling down. Don't compare your Google searches to other people's Facebook posts. Thank you very much.